back to the subject of reaction. Do not wander from it, because there, you see, is the whole crux of our modern suffering. The thumb scrolls, the jaw tightens, the breath shortens, a headline flashes, a face cries, a number spikes, and fear, with perfect manners, presents itself as information, as if it were doing you a favor. All right? Now, if you have faith, real faith, it'll be shown by one simple thing: your non-reaction to the appearance. The degree of your fear is the degree of your reaction. And the feed can reveal only what it can trigger in you. The content is not personal. It is an impersonal parade. But your consent, your click, your churn, your argument gives it a borrowed life. Be still and know that I am God. You see, the knowing comes after the stillness, not after the scroll. We have called it by its right name, an appearance, not a reality, not a power, an appearance. The teacher of Galilee stood in a boat while the storm hissed and clawed at the disciples' nerves. And he said, "Peace, be still." And the sea obeyed. Now pay attention. The sea did not bring him peace. The peace dissolved the sea as a threat. Your feed is a little sea, twittering and boiling. When you react, you make of it a storm. When you do not react, you behold the glassy water under it. We are on the middle path when we neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance, neither idolize a headline nor demonize a headline, neither rush to change it nor run to hide from it. If we are free, we prove it by non-reaction. Immediately, the mind says, then let me curate better. Let me get better news, better filters, better arguments. No, never enter the case humanly. Never build a taller dam to outwit the river, because then you are employed by the river. Better news is still news. Better arguments are still arguments. A cleaner cage is still a cage. The whole regime of fixing it on the level of thought keeps you inside the same hypnotic circle where effects pretend to be causes and causes pretend to be you. Who, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit unto his stature? You do not escape a dream by dreaming up kinder giants. You awaken. How? There must come a split second of silence. Not a theory about silence, not a sentence about God, a split second. In that instant, the spell is broken. Not by your will, not by your cleverness, but by withdrawal of your consent from fear. The thumb hovers. The chest remembers to breathe. And within you there is a tiny Sabbath, a resting. And in that resting, a presence announces itself without words. It is I. Be not afraid. You recognize that you are not contacting a thought about God. God is not a thought, not a mind product, not even the beautiful soul you have imagined. Nobody knows what God is, but you are aware that something is here, and that in its presence the feed thins like fog at noon. Now let us be very clear, very simple. We are not going to fight the internet. We are not going to crusade against platforms, personalities, or policies. We will not take sides in the comment section of the world. We will withdraw consent from fear. We will refuse reaction its audience. We will stand in the boat until the inner command, peace, be still, is more interesting than the wind. And in that stance, which is humility, which is patience, which is obedience, we find that appearances lose their hypnotic power. The peace of God, which passeth all understanding, begins to garrison the heart and the mind, and the feed, the feed remains, if it must, but it no longer governs. Do you see what is promised? Not escape from life, but God contact in the midst of life. And from that contact, a new government. The remedy, then, is never more information, but less reaction. Not a better river, but a quiet shore in you. When the thumb rises again, as it will, remember, one split second of silence, and the spell cannot hold. Now let us ground it where it must be grounded. Faith, not the profession of faith, not the recitation of truths, but the evidence of faith. Why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith? That is the master's diagnosis of reaction, you see. Fear is the sign that we have believed in a power apart from God. If you have faith, actual operative faith, it will be shown in your non-reaction to appearances, whether they parade on a glowing screen or knock at your door at midnight. You do not tremble before a headline or exalt in a headline. You do not let the algorithm grade your peace. Faith takes its stand on principle and refuses employment by appearances. And because this must be practical, let me speak plainly and stack it so you cannot miss it. Do not agree with the appearance. Do not argue with the appearance. Do not analyze your way out of the appearance. Do not desire to change the appearance. Resist not evil, not because evil deserves your courtesy, but because resistance feeds the picture with your attention and your fear. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. All right, standing still is not apathy. It is the highest activity, withdrawal of consent from the hypnosis that says, react to me or else. Never enter the case humanly. Never permit yourself to take up the cause of the appearance or the cause against it. Your safety is in principle, not in personality, not in the outcome of this or that article, this or that policy, this or that argument. You will notice how seductive reaction becomes when it borrows a halo. I must speak up for a good cause. I must correct this falsehood. I must protect my people. Do you see the hook? The moment we are compelled by a picture, even a righteous picture, we are within the mesmerism. The wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. That is not a suggestion. It is a law. Anger polished with virtue or not is still anger. And anger testifies that we have granted reality to a second power. You cannot cast out fear by fear's methods. You cannot heal the turbulence of the feed with the turbulence of your chest. The middle path is quiet, not because it is timid, but because it knows the only authority is God, and God needs no defense. Therefore, neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance. Neither fall before the bad news in dread, nor drink the good news as if it were your life. Good news can intoxicate. It can make you a slave to sunny pictures just as surely as bad news makes you a slave to stormy ones. Take no thought for the feast or the famine in the timeline. Take no thought for gain or loss in the comments section. We are not dealing with a good side and a bad side. Christ is the only identity. And where Christ is realized, sides dissolve. Freedom. Measure it now is the lessening of your need to react, to approve, to condemn, to fix, to fixate. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength, not in the oscillation of likes and alarms. Do not make an enemy of your phone. Do not make a devil of your feed. The device is a piece of glass and metal. The parade upon it is vapor until you breathe into it. Your consent is the doorway. Close the door. Enter into thy closet. And when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret. Shut the door of reaction 1 split second first. And then, when we come to it, we shall widen that split second to a full minute. But for now, let it be this simple. Refuse the reflex. Let the thumb hesitate. Let the breath return. Let the inner silence have the first word. Do not agree. Do not argue. Do not analyze. Do not desire to change a single frame. In that refusal, faith is revealed as presence, and presence needs no assistance from appearances to govern your day. Now we come to the temptation that dresses itself as wisdom. If I just get better sources, if I collect enough context, if I craft the perfect filter, the fear will subside. No, never enter the case humanly. Do not diagnose your nervous system through headlines. Do not ask the wind what your pulse should be. Do not let the day's report card set the climate within your ribs. The mind says, let me research this. And then another link appears. Let me cross-check that. And then another exception arrives. Let me hear the other side. And then 20 sides line up and bow. You see the trick? Every explanation demands another. It is a ladder propped against a mirage. Thought chasing thought cannot arrive at peace, because fear is not cured by thought. Lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Understanding, even brilliant understanding, is still the human mind understanding itself. I had a letter from a student in Chicago who went on a 30-day cleanup of her feed, new lists, new podcasts, new experts, and she wrote, by day 22, I was more informed than ever and sleeping worse than ever. Of course, better pictures are still pictures. Higher piles of facts are still piles. The fear remained because the entire project was mounted on the belief that fear has a cause out there and that you must master that cause. But the master said, which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit unto his stature? If thought is not the creative means of adding a cubit to your stature, it is not the creative means of adding a cubit to your peace. God is not mind. Get that straight. God is not your mind, not my mind, not even the finest collective mind. God isn't mind. God isn't even soul, as you have pictured. Soul. Nobody knows what God is. Therefore, mind cannot think its way to God, and mind cannot think peace into being. Peace is not an inference. Peace is presence realized. Do you see why fixing the feed fails? It keeps you employed by the appearance. It keeps you counting waves instead of standing in the boat. You become the weatherman of your own panic. The compulsion is subtle. React now or else. All right, let us draw a clean line here. Guidance and compulsion are not the same. There may come a wise step, unsubscribe, pause, write a letter, comfort a neighbor, but that will come later. And it will come without strain, without the heat of necessity, without the clang of must. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. If it is not easy and light, it is not guidance, it is compulsion. And compulsion is the voice of the appearance, seeking your consent. So what then? If thought cannot contact God, what can? Be still and know that I am God. Not be right. Be still. The natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, which is to say, the mind in its own element cannot receive what only silence can reveal. There must come not a technique, not a clever breathing, not a verse lobbed like a dart, but a surrender, a split second yielded to that which is already here. In that yielding, the hypnotic claim that you must react now loses jurisdiction because it has no listener left. Then, if a step is to appear, it appears as afterglow, as overflow, not as rescue mission. And if no step appears, You are governed anyway because the government is on his shoulder, not on your feet. All right? Let us not waste another hour polishing the mirrors of a dream. Pull the plug. Let silence have the first word. And only then, if you are moved, let the next word be spoken. Now let us move it off your shoulders, because as long as you carry it as my anxiety, you will be trying to mend a private wound with public bandages. This has nothing to do with you. Do you hear that? This has nothing to do with you. Doom scrolling is not your temperament. It is not your weakness. It is not your unique neurosis. It is a universal belief, impersonal, contagious, sweeping through consciousness like a rumor in a crowded market. The God of this world hath blinded the minds, not the God of heaven, but the hypnotizer of appearances, the collective mesmerism that whispers something is about to happen. You are not safe unless you stay alert. Scarcity is coming. Hatred is prowling. Catastrophe is due at any moment. And if you do not react now, you will be left behind. You see how the lines repeat? It is liturgy, only it is the liturgy of fear. Name these modern beliefs so they have no place to hide. Scarcity. There won't be enough money, attention, time, forgiveness. Catastrophe. The next headline will confirm that the world is failing. Hatred. Those people are your enemy. Cut them off before they cut you. And the slickest of all, the doctrine of vigilance as salvation. Keep your eyes peeled. Keep your thumb moving. Safety comes by constant watch. This is the mass suggestion. It floats from mind to mind like the draft that supposedly gives colds. And the feed do not hate it, for this serves as a delivery system, piping the suggestion into your hand. But the power is not in the glass, not in the server, not in the words. The power, such as it seems, is in belief accepted without discernment. Now, how does a suggestion become a tyrant? Only by your consent. Fear hath torment. Not because fear is a law, but because belief in fear makes it your overseer. One glance, one inward nod, and the impersonal voice puts on your name tag and becomes my nerves, my responsibility, my duty to stay informed. And there you are hired by a rumor. All right? Take back the name tag. Say within yourself, quietly and without defiance, this is not my fear. This is not personal. This is a universal belief presenting itself as me. In that instant, you have loosened the knot. Why? Because a universal belief has no law to support it. It has no divine mandate and carries no authority from principle. There is no power apart from God. When you recognize the belief, as nothing claiming to be something, you withdraw the only fuel it ever had, your conviction. Scripture has been telling us this in plain language while we nodded and hurried on. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee, not because you build a bunker of information, but because you abide in the secret place where universal winds do not set the weather. Take no thought for the morrow, not apathy, but emancipation from the superstition that anxiety is foresight. Perfect love casteth out fear. Love, not argument. Presence, not posture. And when fear arrives as the voice of the many, remember, no weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper. A suggestion is a weapon only if you bow to it. Do you see that? All right, let us be very practical. The next time the rush comes, open the phone. You must see. You must know. Stop making it about you. Do not defend yourself. Do not justify your vigilance. Do not accuse your weakness. Say, this is the universal belief of vigilance as safety masquerading as my duty. I do not consent. We are not fighting. We are naming. We are not attacking. We are exposing the impersonal as impersonal. And at that very point, the way opens, simple as breath, to what we shall practice together. The 6-0-second silence. Because when you cease personalizing the storm, you no longer need to shout above it. You can let it pass without you. Then, in one split second, one Sabbath of the heart, the contagion finds no host, and the presence that never left the room is felt. Be not afraid. It is I. And having remembered that you will find that the parade can go by without your enlistment, and peace can govern without a single headline to vouch for it. All right, let us bring this down into the palm of your hand so it cannot escape you with a theory. The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Do you see? The Sabbath is not a date on a calendar or a posture approved by a synagogue. It is consecration in spirit and in truth right where you are, even with a phone in your hand. The hour cometh, and now is, when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father, but in spirit and in truth. The holy place is the next 60 seconds. The sanctuary is your willingness not to react. Here is the simple instruction. Without ornament. Pause the thumb. Either set the phone down beside you or hold it without moving. Do nothing for 60 seconds. Not a clever mindfulness, not a string of verses, not a self-improvement drill. Do nothing. If it helps to mark the time, glance at a clock. Otherwise, let the minute pass in its own way. You are not trying to succeed at silence. You are withdrawing consent from reaction. That is the Sabbath. You cease from your works, from your employment by the appearance, and you rest. Be still and know that I am God. The knowing comes after the stillness, not before. Now, in that minute, do not repeat affirmations. Do not fight thoughts. Do not seek a result. If the mind presents a newsreel, let it flicker on the wall without your purchase. If a feeling hums in the solar plexus, do not label it panic or peace. Let it hum as weather hums beyond a closed window. We are not building an inner barricade. We are simply not hiring the storm as our foreman. There must come a split-second feel for it when you are not feeding fear, not feeding hope, not feeding hate, not even feeding God as a concept. Nobody by taking thought can contact God. Nobody knows what God is. But in that unfed interval, the hypnotic current loses its grip because you are not furnishing it electricity. You may say, but isn't this self-control? No. Self-control is still a self doing something to a self. This is Sabbath. This is cessation. 1 minute of genuine silence is not willpower. It is the withdrawal from hypnosis into God contact. I within you am the Sabbath and the rest. You are not making contact. You are allowing the fact of presence to register. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Not in conclusions, not in agreements or arguments. In quietness, an interval of non-feeding, and then confidence appears as afterglow. What will happen in that minute? I cannot tell you, because it is not yours to program. Sometimes there is the barest click, a tiny release at the back of the heart, like a door swinging a finger's width. Sometimes there is only an absence. The ravenous need to know recedes half a step, and you discover you can breathe without the latest report. Sometimes, unexpectedly, A tenderness rises that has nothing to do with the feed at all. He restoreth my soul. Do not grade it. Do not judge a demonstration by today's mood. Let the minute be what it is and be done. If the thumb twitches, let it twitch, and do not follow. If a verse comes, let it come and pass. Do not work it. If a protest rises, but what if something important happens? Smile inwardly at the universal voice and give it no answer. The Sabbath is not a debate. It is consecration by refusal. I do not feed the picture. I do not feed the hope. I do not feed the hate. I stand 1 minute in the boat, and I do not enlist. When 60 seconds conclude, wait one more heartbeat just there and notice whether action arises or not. If nothing arises, set the phone down and walk on with your day. If a simple step appears, take it without heat. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. That is your test. Ease and light. The minute has not made you safer by information. It has made you free by non-reaction. And in that freedom, the presence that does not clamor is felt as government. Peace has not been achieved. Peace has been revealed. All right. As soon as you consent to that minute, do not be surprised when the mind shouts. Check, refresh, confirm. You'll miss something. You'll be irresponsible. Just one glance. That is not a personal failure. That is the universal belief trying to keep its contract. Treat it as weather crossing the sky of consciousness. Do not debate the thought. Do not improve the thought. Do not condemn yourself for having the thought. Let it pass. Resist not evil. Not because the thought is holy, but because your resistance would employ you as its solicitor. Now, because this is inner work and not a contest of eloquent phrases, take a stance in your own being. Be still. Feel the simple weight of the body wherever it meets the chair or the floor. Soften the forehead. Let the jaw unhook. Let the tongue release from the roof of the mouth. Let the shoulders drop their verdicts. Breathe as the sleeper breathes, unmanaged, natural, unscheduled. You are not manipulating breath to coerce silence. You are noticing that life is functioning without your anxious supervision. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Not in the answer you compose to outshout the mind, but in the refusal to become its chorus. When the next wave comes, and it will, do not meet it with argument. Meet it with absence. Do not pick it up. Do not push it down. Do not dress it in scripture to make it behave. Let the storm pass without you. Your work is to refuse audience. Picture a theater. If the seats are empty, the actors recite to no one, and the play closes. The mind may continue its performance for a time, but you see, have stepped out of the front row. He shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in the Lord, fixed, not frozen, trusting, not trying. Non-reaction is not numbness. It is not apathy, not a gray blanket thrown over feeling, not a pious trance. Non-reaction is the refusal to grant fear an identity, an authority, or a timetable. You will not call it my fear identity withdrawn. You will not bow to it as a power authority withdrawn. You will not insist it end by 3:15 timetable withdrawn. He that believeth shall not make haste. No hurry to clean the sky. No hurry to prove a result. You are not waiting for silence to win. You are letting the belief lose its listener. If tears come, let them come, but do not interview them. If the stomach tightens, let it tighten, but do not give it a press conference. If a verse surfaces, peace, be still, allow it to float by as reassurance, not as a weapon you hurl. We are returning to the boat where the master slept. We are discovering that peace is not the outcome of a calmer sea, but the presence that is untroubled in the midst. After the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the fire, a still small voice. Stay with the stillness that does not shout. You do not manufacture it. You discover it was present while the elements auditioned for your fear. As the heat falls a degree, and sometimes it is only a degree, you begin to sense the most valuable distinction in this practice, the difference between human emotion and spiritual awareness. Emotion moves and may continue to move, like the surf. Spiritual awareness witnesses, unsplashed, like the shore. Emotion wants to argue outcomes. Awareness has no side to sell. Emotion hurries. Awareness abides. Do you see the relief? You would imagine you must fix your feelings to find God, but the presence reveals itself, while feelings come and go as weather. Be still and know that I am God. The knowing follows the stillness, not the elimination of sensation. If the mind returns with its clever bargain, only one responsible peak, smile inwardly and do nothing. Do not sign the treaty. Do not take the oath. Do not call a friend to outsource your debate. Simply remain, soft in the brow, easy in the breath, present in the body, absent from the theater. The shout cannot hold its volume without a hearer. And when at last the play notices the empty seats, it closes of its own futility. Then, and not before, a movement may appear simple, unheeded, clear as a bell in thin air, or no movement appears, and that too is governed, because you are no longer measuring safety by what you do, but by the presence that has taken its rightful seat. Stand still and see, beloved. Let the storm pass without you. When the mind shouts, answer nothing. Withdraw the audience, and the performance cannot continue. In that emptied hall, the secret place of the Most High is felt, and you know without words that you do not live by alerts and updates, but by every wordless breath that proceedeth from life itself. All right, let us bring this home to the place where so many battles are staged, the comment section, the thread, the back and forth of cleverness and heat. Here the old temptation presents itself with a fresh paint job. Pick a side, fly a flag, defend the righteous, expose the villain. No, principle over personalities. We are not dealing with good people and bad people. We are dealing with a universal belief, putting on different masks, a single fear, claiming many mouths. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, which is to say against the impersonal suggestibility that would have us forget the one. Do you see that? If you fight flesh and blood, you have already descended to the arena of personalities, and there the appearance rules the hour. Outrage seduces because it feels like virtue. It borrows the wardrobe of moral clarity and says, if you are a decent soul, you must answer now. But outrage is still reaction. The heat in your chest is the tether. The picture holds you by the very rope you think you are using to pull it down. The wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. Not ever. You cannot purify an appearance by becoming its echo louder. You cannot cleanse a lie by hating the liar. You bind yourself to the lie by accepting its premise, that there is a power apart from God to fear or to fix. Therefore, practice the middle path online neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance, especially the intoxicating appearance of my side must win. Winning a side is nothing if you lose your contact. The moment your peace depends upon an outcome in the thread, you are employed by the thread. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment is not a verdict on people. It is the remembrance of principle in spite of people. When you feel your hand trembling above the keys, when the clever rebuttal assembles itself like soldiers on parade, let the 6-0 second Sabbath return and dissolve the jury 1 minute, and then see if there is a word to be spoken from stillness rather than from heat. What does principle look like here? It is not a slogan. It is the realization that Christ is the only identity, not your avatar, not your hero, not your opponent. There is neither Jew nor Greek, bond nor free, for ye are all one in Christ Jesus. If that is true, and it is, then you cannot in righteousness make an enemy out of an appearance or a hero out of an appearance. Appearance. You refuse to confer identity where only masks are parading. You do not defend your friends nor attack your foes. You abide in the one where friends and foes dissolve. Be therefore perfect, whole, undivided, even as your Father is perfect, causing his sun to rise on the evil and on the good. You see, principle shines. It does not choose up sides. Now, practically, a post appears, sharp, unfair, dangerous, even in its influence. The universal belief of fear speaks through it. Yes, but it is still belief, still lawless, still without mandate from God. Do not enter the case humanly. Do not leap to rescue truth as if truth were a fragile child. Stand 1 minute. Let silence reclaim the ground. If, after that, a word lifts itself unheeded, unhurried, offer it. It may be a single sentence that clarifies without condemning. It may be a private note that honors the person and refuses the bait of the crowd. It may be a quiet act off screen, a gift, a listening ear, a visit, or it may be nothing at all, because the government is not on your keyboard. The government shall be upon his shoulder. That is the test. Ease and light. If it comes wearing strain, it is compulsion. If it comes easy and light, it is guidance. And do not be bribed by applause or threatened by scorn. Not even the side that hires you is your side. Your only interest is in bringing forth a spiritual activity. And if spiritual harmony can only be achieved through silence, or through separation from a thread, let's have it. Freedom online begins when you refuse to take sides and return to principle. Refuse to be drafted by the chorus of the many. Return to the one. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, not as the world wins an argument, but as presence outlives a storm. Then, and only then, any word you speak will be seed, not shrapnel. It will be the still small voice making its quiet way through the noise, and it will require no victory to prove itself true. All right. Now, let us say the thing that offends our religious habits so that truth may breathe. Don't turn to God for anything. Do you hear that? Do not turn to God for a calmer headline, for a safer hour, for a better outcome. The moment you employ God as a lever to move an appearance, you have created a second God, the God of improved pictures. And that God is an idol. God is not a power to be aimed. God is not a mind to be persuaded. God isn't mind. God isn't even soul as you have imagined. Soul. Nobody knows what God is. Therefore, stop trying to use God as an object in your prayer. Take no thought, the Master said. And again, your Father knoweth what things ye have need of, before ye ask him. What then is prayer? It is not asking for a change in the feed. It is the relinquishment of reaction until God is realized as present. You see how this turns the world upside down. We have been trained to run to the closet with a shopping list. Lord, calm this fear, protect this city, fix this algorithm. No. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, shut the door to the feed, to the explanation, to the thunder of opinion. Pray to thy Father which is in secret. Pray how? Thy will be done. Not my will to have a quieter phone. Not my will to have today match my taste. Thy will. Prayer is surrender. It is ceasing to employ the Almighty as my advocate in a human case. It is the inward admission. I will not make demands upon God. I will yield to God. Then, and not until then, the stillness that we have been practicing becomes natural because you have nothing left to bargain for. The argument has lost its plaintiff. But you say, did not Jesus say, ask and ye shall receive? Indeed. Ask for what? For toys? For headlines that soothe? No. Ask for the kingdom, and all these things shall be added unto you. Seek first the presence, not the product. Ask for light, and the need to keep peering into the dark is dissolved. In true prayer, you are not bending God to a result. You are allowing self to be bent out of reaction. And what is received? A contact, not a thought, not a mood, not a borrowed phrase, not even a holy hush. You can put your finger on an inner assurance, faint as breath at first, that needs no argument to prove itself. You sense it as the absence of compulsion, the fall of strain from the shoulders, the end of the sentence must. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, not as an answer to a petition, but as the felt government of that which is. I had a note last month from a young father in Austin. He wrote, at lunch I shut myself in the restroom because my hands were shaking. I had read 3 alerts in a row. I began to pray, God, please make me stop worrying. And then your words came, don't turn to God for anything. I stood there and said, all right, here I am. Thy will be done. For about a minute, everything in me wanted to negotiate. I did nothing. Then something loosened. I walked out, and the phone on the table looked like a spoon, just a utensil. I didn't need to pick it up. Do you see? He did not receive a magic solution. He received the disappearance of the necessity to react. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. The green pasture is not an altered world. It is an altered allegiance. Now, because we are dealing with reality and not theory, expect your old habit of petition to knock. It will say, just ask God to fix this one thread. Smile and be still. True prayer has no object outwardly. Its entire movement is inward. Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. In that commending, there is neither hope nor fear, neither for nor against. There is only release. Sometimes the click is unmistakable. Sometimes it is simply the neutralization of urgency. Sometimes the only evidence is that you can wait without fidgeting. He that believeth shall not make haste. That is prayer's first fruit. And here is the safeguard against superstition. If you come out of prayer needing to do something to prove that it worked, you have not yet prayed. You have bargained. If you come out of prayer empty-handed and at rest, you have touched the hem. From that rest, if a word rises, it rises easy and light. If no word rises, you are governed anyway, because government is not on your petition, but upon his shoulder. Then fear loses its argument. With whom will it argue if you are no longer buying and selling outcomes? The debate ends for lack of a partner. So let us practice rightly. The next time you feel the tug, do not say, God, make this stop. Say nothing. Yield. Stand 1 minute in surrendered silence. Not for peace, but in peace. Not for safety, but in presence. Be still and know that I am God. The knowing follows the stillness, not the wish. And when prayer has become contact rather than request, the silence you feared becomes your home, and the world, your world, finds that its storms have no jurisdiction over a heart that will not contract. Thy kingdom come. Where? Here, within. Then all these things arrange themselves by a wisdom that needs no witness and seeks no prize. All right, now comes the moment that tests our mettle. You begin to taste the ease of the minute, and then just when you think you are through, night drops its curtain and the old actor returns louder. The hand goes to the phone at 1:27 a.m. Without a vote. The pupils widen. The breath shallows. The thumb moves as if hired by adrenaline, or the afternoon slump arrives and you perform just one refresh, then another, and the heart drums as if significance depended upon the scroll. These are the hard cases, the late watch, the panic refresh, the drama addiction that confuses urgency with aliveness. Do not be alarmed. This is the old Pharaoh hardening his heart when Moses asks to go free. Expect it, and then remember the capstone word. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. Prayer and fasting. Not austerity, not punishment, not virtuous hunger strikes. Fasting from what? From stimuli, from commentary, from self-justification, from the little sips of outrage you think you need to keep awake, from the chorus of opinions that promise knowledge but sell you heat. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Nor by feeds alone, but by contact. Therefore set a fast that frees you to pray, as we have learned, wordless, surrendered, unbargaining. Make it practical so it cannot slip away as a noble intention. Choose a morning hour, first hour upon waking, when you will not take in a single item that trades in fear. No news, no social thread, no commentary, no forwarded clip. You simply must see, sit, stand, walk, wash silently if you can, gently if you cannot, but do not hire the world's frenzy to start your engine, or take the last hour of the evening. Power down the intake, let the mind's theater dim, and allow the day to end on God contact rather than on reaction. And there are times, beloved, when only a 2-4 hour reset will do. One day sunrise to sunrise, during which you refuse the economy of fear. Do your necessary work. Answer the call that truly must be answered, but abstain from all voluntary intake meant to scratch the itch. No peeking to prove you are strong. No just checking in case. Fasting is refusal, not proof. But hear me. The deeper fast is inner. Do not merely abstain from input and then gorge on metaphysical phrases. Withdraw, too, from mental statements of truth as a drug. Forget all the truth we ever knew until the truth stands of itself as presence. Wait in silence for the living click. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Not they that recite the Lord, but they that wait. In your fasting window, let verses come as birds land welcome, unforced, unharnessed, and let them fly again. You are not dressing the mind in Scripture to keep it quiet. You are undressing the mind until the quiet that always is becomes apparent. You will say, but the arguments multiply. Yes, for a space they will. The universal belief will present citations, responsibility, timeliness, connection, smile, without agreement. Do not compose a rebuttal. Do not summon allies. Do not explain your fast to yourself. Prayer and fasting together mean no stimuli, no speech outer or inner that keeps the courtroom open. Close the court. Be still and know that I am God. The knowing follows the stillness, not the many words. A designer wrote me from Seattle. I tried the hour in the morning and failed the first 3 days. On the fourth, I put the phone in a drawer. It felt like I had put my oxygen away. Around minute 40, something let go. I wasn't proud. I was just there. All day, the headlines looked like weather. The next morning, my hand went to the drawer and stopped. There was nothing to get. Do you see? Not triumph, authority, not numbness, presence. The compulsion did not go out through argument. It starved for lack of audience and air. And here is the bridge to stability. The more often you choose silence, the less your system believes it must manufacture drama to feel alive. The appetite thins. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Having tasted, you will not be bribed so easily by the spiced food of agitation. Do this for 7 days, an hour each morning, an hour each night, or take a single day each week for a 2-4-hour reset. Do not judge it by fireworks. Do not weigh it by mood. Let maturity bring to light. He that believeth shall not make haste. In time, silence ceases to be a refuge you visit and becomes the government under which you live. Then, even when the kind that once returned stronger knocks again, there is no house to enter, no feast laid out, and no host to greet it. Prayer and fasting have made the silence your authority, and authority needs no defense. All right, let me give you a plain testimony in modern garb. Nothing purple, nothing for the scrapbook, just the kind of moment that finds you on an ordinary Tuesday. It was 7:42 a.m. The kettle hissed. The jacket waited on the chair. The screen lit, and a banner announced itself as if it were the trumpet at Jericho. Breaking. The heart stepped forward. The breath shortened. The thumb, now trained by universal belief, lifted for the reflex peak. There was the whole contract, fear hiring the body, urgency hiring the will, the mind already composing the day around the storm it had not yet read, and then remembered the Sabbath in the hand. Pause. Phone down. 1 minute. Not a clever verse. Not a bargain with God. Not even a brave feeling, just the cessation. Be still and know that I am God. The first 10 seconds were a parade. You're irresponsible. What if this affects your work? Just one glance. I would like to tell you I answered nobly, but I answered nothing. I sat and noticed the weight of the body on the chair, the way the breath was breathing without any help from me, the way the forehead softened when I let it. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Somewhere around second 25, there was the faintest loosening, like a knot acknowledging it could exist without my fingers. The must-know dropped its badge. The compulsion showed itself not as a command, but as a suggestion wearing an official hat. He shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in the Lord. Fixed not on information, but in presence. The banner was still there. Yes, but the leash was not attached. Now watch the outer day. I did not become passive. I became governed. Emails were fewer and truer. A message I would have sent fast, sharp around the edges, seeking to transfer my heat, never left drafts. And at noon, a single sentence took its place and accomplished more than 3 paragraphs could have hoped. In the comment section, where I have often been tempted to enlist, the minute rose up and cut the rope. No reply was needed, and no vinegar sat in the stomach afterward to prove my restraint costly. A call rose to the surface, unheeded, a person to check on, not a post to correct, and the call proved to be the day's work I would have missed while scavenging for significance. Do you see? Decisions became fewer but wiser, not slower from fear but easy from yoke. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. And the headline? It did not change because I was silent. The weather outside remained weather. But the bondage to it, the organized emergency inside, had no jurisdiction. The minute had regoverned the day because it had broken the primitive belief that reaction is necessary for safety. Once that idol falls, the day reorders around what is actually yours to do. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Added how? Not as mental trophies, but as right timing, right words, right abstentions. The realm of must shrinks. The realm of is enlarges. A student wrote, after trying this for 1 week, I still saw the same stories. The difference was that they didn't own me. I sent 2 fewer emails a day, argued half as much, and finished the one task that mattered. That is testimony, not fireworks, governance, not numbness, presence. This is why we do not judge by day-to-day results or by the mood that sits on the morning, you see. We judge by the growth of non-reaction. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Salvation first appears as the end of the compulsion to fix. Then, in due season, actions rise from stillness clean. Let that be your validation. 1 minute truly kept changes the government of the day because it severs the false premise. And once the premise is gone, the tyrant has no throne to sit upon. All right? Having tasted that minute and seen its government, now we must let patience take the field. Do not judge your demonstration by today's mood. Don't look hour by hour to see whether you feel spiritual. The fruit tree does not ripen because you inspect it. It ripens because life works unseen. Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waiteth for the precious fruit of the earth, and hath long patience for it. Long patience, you see, not a stopwatch. Let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. Measure not by how quiet the world is, but by how little you are hired by its noise. Freedom matures. The evidence is decreasing reaction. Now, when you wake into a gusty morning, when the mind is a kettle and the feet aflame and you find yourself in mid-scroll before breakfast, do not pronounce failure. A reactive day is not defeat. It is exposure of remaining belief. It is the universal suggestion saying, I still own a door key. Good. You have discovered the keyhole. Change the lock. How? By returning to the silence without drama, without self-accusation, without a new crusade to improve your mood. The righteous falleth 7 times and riseth up again. Rising, in our practice, is not heroic. It is ordinary. It is a 6-0. Second Sabbath taken again at 9:10, at 1:40, at 4:3. Whenever you notice that, the theater has you back in a seat. Your progress is not that you never sit. Your progress is that you notice sooner, stand sooner, and leave the play without an argument. The half-life of heat shortens. Do you see that? Consider the pattern of maturation as it appears in Scripture. Saul of Tarsus received a blinding light. Yes, but then came years of interior rearrangement before outward steadiness bore fruit. He did not go from vision to victory by Tuesday noon. He went into Arabia, into hiddenness. And the Christ was formed in him long before epistles were signed. If the apostle's soul required season, what makes us suppose our thumbs will be sanctified in an afternoon? For the earth bringeth forth fruit of herself, first the blade, then the ear, after that the full corn in the ear. First the moment, then the minutes, then the manner of your day changes. The kingdom cometh not with observation. Behold, the kingdom of God is within you, within, maturing, silently governing, until the outer follows, without your supervision. Detach, then, from outcomes. Even if the world grows louder, your work is unchanged. Let God have its perfect work in you. Do not audit headlines for proof of prayer. Do not count calm minutes as if they were trophies. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment here is the quiet recognition that the presence is present whether or not the wind remembers to hush. You are not trying to shrink the storm. You are ceasing to offer it a captain. Be not weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Fainting is not falling. Fainting is quitting the silence and taking sides again. Do not faint. Rest, return, and make the return simple and rhythmic so that it belongs to your day as naturally as breath. The 6-0 Sabbath is not a single victory. It is a recurring homecoming. Take it when you wake, before you let the world name the morning. Take it at thresholds, before you open, before you answer, before you post. Take it at the close, that you may not give the night to reaction. 1 split second remembered, and then 60 seconds kept, that is all. Not to win a result, but to abide in the one. He that believeth shall not make haste. Haste belongs to moods. Trust belongs to presence. Over weeks, the edges round, the reflex loosens. The sense of being employed by every alarm dissolves. You will notice not a noiseless world, but a governed heart. You will notice that even when you slip into arms. Now unto him that is able to keep you from falling. Let that be your confidence. Let God have its perfect work. Let the tree ripen without your staring. And when you must look only to see this. That reaction is decreasing. The yoke is easing. And the government is upon his shoulder, not upon your thumb. All right? Let us end where your hand begins, with a simple daily rule that any hour can keep. The latter is this: pause, be silent, then act. If you are moved to act, not complicated, not heroic, but exact. At the first sign of tightening the breath, shortening, the forehead gathering, the thumb preparing its patrol, pause the scroll. Do not read one more to be informed. Your information has nothing to do with your freedom. Lay the device down as you would lay down a tool made hot by use. Then enter the minute. Not to think, not to plead, not to decorate the mind with phrases, just the minute. Be still and know that I am God. Let the knowing follow the stillness. Do not try to feel holy. 60 seconds. Then wait a beat for inner direction, which is to say, for the absence of compulsion and the presence of ease. If a word lifts itself, practical, kind, firm, and without fever, speak it. If no word rises, do not manufacture one. Act, or don't act, by that ease. Now the guardrails, because this is sacred restraint. Never enter the case humanly. Never desire to change appearances. Never take sides. Never mistake reaction for duty. The universe will offer you many noble reasons to react, and each will wear a badge: responsibility, loyalty, urgency. Remember the rule: if it arrives with strain, it is not guidance but hypnosis. He that believeth shall not make haste. Haste is not devotion, it is fear in religious clothing. Therefore, when the post stings or the headline trumpets, do not become its chorus. Stand 1 minute. When the minute is kept, you will discover that even sharp action can come without heat. Principle expresses, ego defends. The action from silence is clean. It carries no residue. It asks for no applause and fears no scorn. What, then, does such action look like? It looks like a reply that is shorter than your cleverness and truer than your temper. It looks like a phone call to one person you are given to love, instead of a speech to 500 strangers you are given to correct. It looks like closing the app and opening a window. It looks like returning to the work at hand and finding that it is your assigned altar. It looks like a firm no to contagion and a quiet yes to what is yours. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Easy does not mean idle. It means unforced. Light does not mean trivial. It means without fever. Practice this at thresholds. Before reading the next post, pause. Before replying, pause. Before one more refresh, pause. Let the minute precede the world's request to be believed. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Return 10 times a day if needed. Return 100. The repetition is not failure. The repetition is consecration. Our measurement remains the same. Decreasing reaction. Not better headlines, but a less employable heart. You will find, as you keep this rule, that life arranges itself by a subtler timing. Words arrive on time or not at all. Doors open without your knocking them down. Some threads close by themselves because you did not give them air. Some moments flower because you did not crush them with commentary. And when the old impulse returns, not if, but when, meet it with the same mercy. Pause, be silent, then act, if you are moved to act. No drama, no verdict on yourself, no scoreboard. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. The seeing is allowed only to those who stand still. Let this be our benediction and our confidence. In thy silence, I shall come to you, not as a sensation to be admired, but as the unarguable government of presence. The contact is not a visitor. It is the fact of being once reaction is relinquished. So today and tomorrow and in the thick of ordinary hours, keep the rule, pause the scroll, enter the minute, wait for the quiet consent, then act or don't, and let the government be upon his shoulder, not upon your thumb.